Just this once. And I want to
subscribe.
Cardi Kaizoku.
Oh, it's just my Patreon I just launched. If you like what I do and want to support me, toss a few bucks my way. Link in the description and on screen until someone subscribes to the tier and changes it. Okay, onto the video. So you've heard news that a new set in the One Piece trading card game was coming out soon and you're interested in starting the game? That's great, welcome! But we're 4 expansions deep now and jumping in at this point may be a little overwhelming, right? Here's some information to help you jump into the game with OP04. Just FYI, I'm located in the US, so this advice is America-centric. So in terms of card availability, the newest set will always be the easiest to get, and sets get harder to find the older they are. OP04 releases on September 22nd, and you'll see it in stock at your local game store, and it'll even be in stock at chain stores like Target, Walmart, Barnes & Nobles, and Five Below. Blister packs in the chain stores are usually cheaper than your local game store, so they'll sell out quickly. But there are rumors that they'll have fixed supply issues by OP04, so we'll see if things are different this time around. A good majority of us have had OP04 product pre-ordered months in advance, so if you want to get into the game for the long haul, I'd recommend trying to find OP05 pre-orders now, as I think it will be one of the best expansions for the game. I'll be going over some helpful resources I use. If you want a good way to play online, there's the OPTCGSim created by Bot2TCG. It really is an amazing app that gets updated frequently with new cards as they get released. For decklist aggregators, I recommend One Piece top decks for top placing deck lists from the Asia card regions. And for the English region, I recommend Eggman events. For One Piece trading card content creators, I definitely have to recommend, well, me. If you happen to have stumbled onto this video somehow, hi, I'm Cardi Kaizoku. I post One Piece trading card game videos daily and I do a variety of content. I mostly do deck breakdowns and gameplay videos, but I also do pre-release guides, tier lists, and experiment with new types of videos every now and then. My stats say that 55% of my viewers aren't subscribed, and that tiny number going up does give me a dopamine hit, so throw a subscribe my way if you like what you've seen so far. Just to clear things up, I'm not Kaizoku cards, so please stop tagging me in your posts. I do plan to start selling custom Dawn as merch in the future, so people may confuse us even more after that. As for other content creators, I'll be honest, since making these daily videos takes up so much of my time, and that time is inundated with either playing OPTCG or editing OPTCG footage, my capacity to consume any more One Piece trading card game content is quite full. So a lot of the content creators that I do follow were ones that I followed back when I myself started the game. So if there's any other great channels I didn't include, which I'm sure there are a lot, again, it's only because I'm really burnt out on consuming any more One Piece trading card game content, on top of how much my life already revolves around it running my own channel. With that in mind, I recommend Azuraf D. Chaz, pretty much the One Piece card game YouTuber that the rest of us are aspiring to keep up with. He plays in the Asia region too, so he covers cards one set ahead of us. He covers OPTCG news and does unboxing videos. Another Asia region creator I like is Hiroshisho. His analysis and technique guides are top-notch. For English region content creators, there's Blackbeard TCG. I just like listening to the guy talk. There's a running gag in my Discord server where I refuse every request to play Blue Purple Crocodile. But if Blackbeard TCG made a video telling me why Blue Purple Crocodile is good, you can bet that I'm queuing the deck up on the sim right after. Cross AI is another content creator I watch. He's a high-level player with a track record to back it up. And I might get flack for this, but one thing to look out for as a new player is to be very wary of videos that plaster undefeated or first place on their thumbnail and video title. 90% of the time, these videos are clickbait that get by on being like half-truths, since the deck probably did win, but probably at a very low-level local event. I've seen many bad undefeated decks on YouTube in my time. I just hate that these tactics do work for attracting views and they mislead new players. But I've managed to grow my channel without resorting to these tactics, and so have all the other channels that I've recommended in this video, so a little bit of hope there. If you want a channel you can trust, the Eggmans is a good one for actual top placing deck lists and interviews of those top players. For communities, I have to plug my own Cardi Kaizoku Discord server. It's very chill and laid back. I feel some of the other servers can get a little too sweaty, and sometimes they're a little too condescendingly bro-y to me, so I really like the vibe going on in my server. There's also an unofficial One Piece trading card Discord community that's pretty much the biggest community for the game. They have a beginner chat channel too that's good for new players to ask questions, and it's my go-to place to see new leaked cards. People can get pretty snarky in some of the other channels though, so beware. I also have to recommend CrossAI's VBY server. This is the sweatiest of sweaty servers. A lot of high-ranking players are in this server, and people like discussing the game at a really high level when tournament season comes around. Alright, back to OP04. So if OP04 is your starting point for the card game and you want to play competitively, I'd say Rebecca is the only deck you can viably build with just OP04 cards. A Rebecca deck is like 95% OP04 cards, so if you decide to get OP04 booster boxes or blisters, you'll most likely be most of the way done with the Rebecca deck already anyway. However, as a brand new player, I would not recommend starting off with Rebecca. She's a very complicated leader that does not play like any other deck in the game. There is a steep learning curve and you really need a solid grasp on the fundamentals of the game before spicing it up with Rebecca's mechanics. But if you feel like you're up for the challenge, more power to you. You can use my Rebecca deck breakdown as a good starting point to build your own list off of, and check out my gameplay videos to see how she plays. Another competitive leader that runs cards from OP04 would be Green-Purple Doflamingo. Doflamingo is a lot simpler than Rebecca. In fact, if I were to recommend a deck that is pure fundamentals, Doflamingo would be a great start. There's no hard removal in the deck, so all your board interactions come down to math. It'll also teach you how to use blockers, how to counter using events, when and how to best use draw and search effects, and other fundamentals like that. Doflamingo's leader ability is very forgiving too, in that you'll always have 2 down up for a 4k event counter if you ever mess up a turn while you're still learning the game. From OP04 you'll need Sugar, Diamante, 10 cost Doflamingo, and Spiderweb. The rest of a typical Green-Purple Doflamingo deck will require you to buy 2 copies of Starter Deck 5 to get 4 copies of some of the purple film cards. They're hovering at about $35 each right now at the time of this video, and increasing due to the cards in this deck finally being playable thanks to Doflamingo. It does seem cheaper to buy the starter decks than the singles for these cards. And on top of that, you'll need some singles from OP02, 4 Film Luffys, 4 Namis, 4 Choppers, and 2 to 4 Brook, which will cost you about $30 total as of the recording of this video. You'll also need 4 Punk Gibson from OP01, which is another $10. Every other card in the deck is under $1 and pretty flexible in ratio, so it's up to you how much you want to run. So in the end, Doflamingo is actually a lot pricier than Rebecca, so if budget is an issue for you, keep that in mind. You can use my Doflamingo deck breakdown as a good starting point to build off your own list, and you can check out my gameplay videos to see how he plays. The only other competitive leader from OP04 is Queen. Between Rebecca, Doflamingo, and Queen, I'd say Queen will probably teach you the least about fundamentals. Starting off with the yellow leader can develop some bad habits due to the nature of yellow cards having powerful trigger effects. There will be games you win just due to getting lucky with the trigger, which I don't think is constructive for getting better at the game. But with that being said, Queen does have a very low barrier of entry, so you can pick him up pretty easily. So if Rebecca is an advanced fundamentals deck and Doflamingo is a pure fundamentals deck, what does that make Queen? Queen is sort of like an anti-fun deck. Or rather, anti-fun for your opponent, but fun for you. The deck is just filled with a bunch of blockers and large characters with removal effects. So if that sort of playstyle is appealing to you, OP04 will get you a few pieces you'll need in the form of Yamato, Bedge, Amande, Sanji, Pound, and Red Rock. You'll need to dip into OP03 and OP01 to fill out the rest. For OP03, a playset of Katakuri will cost you $140 at the time of recording. A playset of Sogeking will set you back $32. From OP01, a full playset of Mihawk will cost $24. But the ratio of these cards can be tweaked around, so it's not mandatory to run 4 copies of these cards. The other cards in the deck are cheap bulk cards. I won't have my Queen deck breakdown up by the time this video comes out, but here's a sneak preview of a list that you can model your own list off of. If you're not interested in being competitive at all, Vivi and Crocodile can be built almost entirely out of OP04 cards. I don't plan to do deck breakdowns for these 2 leaders at the moment, so here's just some deck lists that I found on One Piece Top Decks that you could try out. I would steer clear of Isho as a new player, as he's neither competitive nor runs many cards from OP04, if any, at the moment. If you wanted to jump into the game for OP04 without buying any OP04 product and just want to buy singles, 2 of the most competitive decks are actually some of the cheapest decks to build. Zoro and Whitebeard are incredibly accessible decks that top many tournaments. The most expensive card in the Zoro deck is Rush Zoro, who is hovering around $15 as of this video. But there are Zoro lists that don't run any of this card at all. Whitebeard is even cheaper than this, with 5 cost Marco being the highest cost card at $8. Blue Doflamingo is another deck I recommend, as he's good into Zoro and Whitebeard and can be fairly inexpensive if you choose not to pick up the $60 promo Jinbeis that some lists run. I don't think Jinbei is essential for this deck, so you can run it without him just fine. If budget is not an issue, most yellow decks run 3 to 4 copies of 8 cost Katakuri, which cost about $35 each. Katakuri would be the yellow leader I'd recommend for starting out with yellow. So I hope that gives you an idea on what to expect if you're starting off playing the One Piece trading card game with OP04. I tried accounting for people who want to be competitive with OP04, people who don't care about being competitive with OP04, and people who are fine with buying mostly cards from previous sets, so I think that covers everyone. With that being said, if you do find another leader that you really vibe with, by all means go all in on that leader. This video is more for people who have completely no clue which path to go down, and I want to give them a little bit of guidance from my own experience. So let me know if this video helps, and I'll make more videos to help beginners in the future. Okay, bye.
Car D Kaizoku.